You're listening to 99.1 WQRT LP Indianapolis, and this is Create Here. Produced by artists and curators from Big Car Collaborative, Create Here is your place to listen to conversations with people making intriguing, innovative, and impactful things happen on the cultural front in Indianapolis, Indiana, and beyond. Find out more and access additional episodes at WQRT.org. On this episode, I'm joined with Michael Huber of Indie Chamber. Michael leads the organization's effort to serve businesses around the city, providing tools and resources vital to business growth and success. Michael is also a part of the Indie Music Strategy, leading efforts to help point musicians and venues around the city of Indianapolis to vital resources in hopes to bring awareness to the growing community. I'm Oreo Jones, and I'm joined in studio with Michael Huber from the Indie Chamber. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Oreo. Thanks for having me. Congratulations on Bless and everything of the last year. Love that record.
Hey, thank you so much. So for those that aren't really familiar with the Indie Chamber, what your position and what you do for the city, would you care to fill people in a little bit?
Chambers of Commerce have been around, for over 100 years. But so the Indie Chamber, certainly we are a chamber of commerce. Like literally any business can join, and an increasing number of nonprofits join. So we work for our members. We have over 2,000 in Indianapolis and in the region. But the big thing that we're trying to do is modernize that concept of a chamber of commerce. So an organization that any business can join to positively influence the city and the region. And so in addition to providing all these different programs for our members, 85% of which are small business members, we are the Economic Development Corp for Indianapolis and for the region. So when you've got expanding companies or companies trying to grow, there's a variety of tools that we have. And then in the last 2 years, we've significantly grown our small business lending and small business services. So we have an office in Salesforce Tower. In any given day, you're going to see people having conversations and consulting with small businesses that are trying to get to that next level of growth. So it's never boring.
Mm. Could you share maybe some positive aspects, even past the lockdown and everything going on in the climate with everything COVID related? I'm sure you guys were pretty busy there, huh?
It was. So, in March of 2020, when all of us, and everybody listening, I'm sure was like, what is happening? What's the future going to bring? We made a decision as a Chamber of Commerce, business organization to shift all of our resources to small business supports because, I think the first wave that a lot of us saw were restaurants and retail stores that were really limited because, things got shut down and the virus was spreading. So in March, April, May of 2020, and this has continued through this year, we went out and raised millions of dollars for small business loans and small business grants of various types. And we've got a lot of banks and financial institutions on our board. What our banks helped us realize was some of the biggest areas of vulnerability were going to be very small businesses that just needed working capital just to survive and figure out what they were going to do when the shutdowns happened. So just in 2020 alone, Oreo, we made over $22 million in very small loans and grants to businesses. That took on different forms. In some cases, it was loans. In some cases, it was grants. And, shout out to Mayor Joe Hogsett and Council President Vapa Osili for helping us and for making some city funding available for those grants. And, we learned so much. I mean, it's like, there are some heartbreaking stories of businesses, especially restaurants, that decided to close, but we think we were able to over 1,300 unique businesses received grants of some kind, and we were able to help a lot of people manage through it. And I know we're not out of the woods yet, but we're in such better shape, obviously, late in 2021. We're really hopeful as we go into next year.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the Indie Music Strategy. Yeah. That was a big, huge campaign. I remember being a part, in the early stages when, through the interviews and throughout. Would you care to share a little bit about where it started and kind of where it is now and what you see with the future of it?
Yeah. So it personally, our organization getting involved in music strategy was a big thrill for me because, I had been a fan of yours for a long time, knew you a little bit, and Indianapolis is a city where, people like yourself, you've got an internationally recognized album and you're super accessible and plugged into the community. That's not the case in most cities. Mm-hmm. There's something about Indianapolis. Obviously, we've got our share of problems, but there's something about the community where it's pretty easy to get connected to people. So we started thinking, how can we use that to elevate music in our city? Because I think there's another aspect of this too is Indianapolis, at least the mainstream of Indianapolis, we don't promote our music as much as many other cities do. Nashville, Tennessee being an obvious example, but you've seen in Philadelphia, other cities that do a better job kind of weaving their music and their musicians and their artists into that story of what that city is. And so we decided as a business organization, we literally anybody can join the chamber, so we're not the organization that defines what cool is, or what edge is, but many of our members are music venues. We have several music labels among our membership. What we set out to do was see how we can organize and really elevate the music of Indianapolis as a sector. So the same way that we would analyze life sciences, which is a huge sector in Indianapolis, or the same way that we would, our sports industry, to take a step back and look at musical artists, labels, venues. I've discovered cottage industries that existed here, which I didn't know about. The story of gospel labels like Ty Scott Records, obviously the amazing jazz heritage that Indianapolis has going back into early in the 20th century. It's like, how do we reclaim that and really make it a more prominent part of the Indianapolis story? And I think there's a huge opportunity for the mainstream of the business community to embrace the work that artists are doing, because let's be honest, when Bless has a record and you go out and tour other cities, that makes a statement about Indianapolis, right? You become ambassadors for Indianapolis. And if we play our cards right, that could draw more positive attention toward Indianapolis as a city where artists can really succeed. Mm-hmm. So that was probably more of an explanation than needed, but it's a really exciting time. So there's no doubt that the music strategy efforts got hampered a little bit due to COVID, but we have a lot of great organizations. This new Independent Venue Alliance was created, and that was really aided by the music strategy. The Indy Keeps Creating grants, and then when Indianapolis hosted the entire Division I men's basketball tournament in March and April of 2021. The organization Gang Gang curated over 200 live performances.
Yeah, they took off last year. Yeah,
they did,
or this year.
And so you can, even though COVID happened and it's been really, really difficult, you can see some early signs of this music community being more and more connected. We got a long way to go, but if I was a little bit discouraged at the beginning of COVID, I'm pretty excited now.
Yeah, it's interesting when we talk about music cities like Nashville and bigger markets like New York and Los Angeles. It always seems like here in the city everyone's trying to quantify or trying to put something at the next. What's the next neighborhood? What's the next, restaurant or what? Everyone's always looking for the next. Isn't it hard to just kind of navigate that?
It is.
It's hard for me as a musician and a person to just kind of like follow what that is, or try to chase or follow the narrative of what that being said, if that makes sense.
And I think I know you and I both love this city.
Yeah.
And I think there are things on this topic that I love and hate about our city.
Yeah, for sure.
So I love the fact that like I've gone to Oreo Jones concerts and I've followed, Bless and the development of that project, and then here I am, I can talk to you, which is really cool about our city. One of the things that I struggle with about our city is this inferiority complex, you know what I mean? And one of the things, that your question kind of sparks is one of the things comes out of the music strategy is how can we write our own story that is uniquely Indianapolis instead of trying to make our story fit what we think is going to be the next thing? Because and I'm not gonna do all of it justice, but the jazz history, the developments over the last several years with so many new hip hop artists and the success of Treese going mainstream, the bluegrass country roots music heritage that we have. Bean Blossom is technically a part of the Indianapolis metro area. People wouldn't know about. There's so much here which is very unique and authentic, which is not like anywhere else.
Yeah.
That how do we pull that together and tell that story that's uniquely Indianapolis? Without and be confident about it.
Yeah, I think that's the most intriguing part, and I think that is a wave maybe that is catching on. Music, and this is my opinion, but I feel like it's more intriguing to hear a story from an artist coming out of places like Indianapolis or Ohio or
Milwaukee. I saw a piece on Milwaukee hip hop the other day.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that, I feel like is way more intriguing and way more impactful than the traditional. Hey, let's jump ship and go to a coast, New York or Los Angeles. And I think maybe like in the industry, I feel like that is kind of more of like a story that you're seeing more often. And I think that's what's special about our city is that there's still like a canvas that still needs to be painted on.
I agree. At some places you're seeing like some of these cities that were really hot, then it almost I like going to Nashville. I think it's a great city.
It's an awesome city.
At some point, the narrative and the marketing of that place kind of takes over, And a lot of these other cities too have just become so expensive. It's like you've got to have at least every city that I've been aware of that's created a really strong music identity, has had really strong youth culture. Well, a lot of these places now, if you're a young person, you literally can't afford to live there anymore.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is right about the blank canvas. And one thing that I think is a big challenge is how do you get people who are maybe of an older generation to really understand and believe what's already here,
and the value of what's here.
Yeah.
I feel like is important to see, right?
It's like maybe in the past arts was considered more entertainment, but now when you look at our tech companies here who are competing against coastal cities for talent, certainly Lilly, certainly Cummins and Rolls-Royce competing with cities for talent, they're gonna assign way more value to the arts and culture that's here because they know that they're trying to take their talented young people and convince them to stay and grow here, and then they're also trying to convince people from other cities to come in here. And I think that having something that is unique and authentic and makes a statement about Indianapolis has a lot more value, to those employers. Now, I have to be careful here because that's not to say that it's a commodity. I mean, this is art. It has a value just beyond a fun, amenity.
Where do you see the future in the music strategy? I know that's like a super vague and hard question, but where do you see it here now, like post like crazy lockdown, and now that things are kind of slowly, kind of coming back to opening up?
So the answer that I'm going to give is, I'm kind of a pragmatist. So like in my role at the chamber, we don't necessarily define what's cool and what's on the edge. We're trying to get, this huge network of businesses to pay attention to things. What I would say is, more venues for young people to play and making it easier for all ages venues to sprout up, because the cities that we're competing against that have great music scenes, there are places that young people grew up going to, and we don't have enough of those places in Indianapolis, and that's definitely part of the strategy from just making it easier for people to do live performances, all ages venues. I think number two is part of a story. when we present Indianapolis to the rest of the world and we're talking about job opportunities, and certainly we have them, and we're talking about sports, that music becomes just as much of the fabric, but that story is not going to be something that's trying to imitate somewhere else, but that's uniquely Indianapolis. The third thing that comes to mind is something that I think is happening when we talk about the 200 plus live performances with the NCAA tournament, but what if it could just become a part of the ethos that, if you're doing a big event or a convening, whoever you are, maybe it's, the city government, maybe it's a nonprofit organization, maybe it's, Eli Lilly and Company, that it's just part of the expectation that there's an opportunity created for a musician, in playing original work too, that's and I see that starting to happen. But if we could get businesses and organizations that when they bring people together, we're going to assign a higher value to those artists who are producing original work. I think that would be really good. Now, there's tons more creative possibilities, that people like you would see beyond that. But I think if we could get those three things to happen in the next year or two, it would be a big step forward.
Yeah, just to have like a cultural acceptance of that.
By the way, I was at the Pacers game on Sunday, and I saw you.
You did?
I did. I saw you in the Pacers pregame intro video. That was pretty cool. So that's a small.
That was a dream come true. Yeah, being in the City Edition jersey commercial.
That's fantastic.
I was actually at the game this past Sunday with my pops. Yeah, he's a big Pacers fan, so that was cool. Go and check out the game.
Yeah.
Let's talk about chamber music.
It's great. So with Chamber Music is a band, a 6-piece band that we've been around for, I guess, 7 years. I play keyboards and sing background vocals in that band. It's in some ways it's covers. In some ways we like to think of it as a reinterpretation band, because we'll take, mostly in the, soul and R&B and pop songs from the last 4 decades and add a lot of musical improvisation, because we do have some really good improvisers in that group and a really sensational lead vocalist in Vanessa Renee. But during COVID, we were inspired to start writing our own songs, and so we got it. Gave us confidence to write our own songs, and so we've got 2 songs that are out there that we play often. You can find us Chamber Music. I think it's Chamber Music Band Indie on Facebook. You can find it. We're playing before the Big Ten Championship on Georgia Street on Saturday with several other Indianapolis bands, and it's like we just got started because we love to play music and we love to improvise. Again, this has given us, the last couple of years have given us some confidence. It's like, what's our unique voice? Let's put that out there. Because as I've always been fascinated with people like yourself who just, are just, you've got something you want to say and you want to put it out there, and that's never been me. And the last 2 years, myself and the other members were like, no, this is that we do have something to say, and it's definitely, I think our sweet spot is definitely that we're definitely inspired by R&B and soul music from 70s and 80s and 90s.
You guys jam.
I appreciate that. We work really hard at it too, but we're also trying to write melodic songs. A bit. Kenneth Edmonds, Babyface, came from Indianapolis. He's somebody I've met a few times, and I was literally starstruck by. And people like that. It's like that kind of melodic songwriting. So no, thanks for asking. That's been a project that I would love to see us go more in producing original music in the next chapter of that band.
Michael, thank you so much for joining me. And if anyone has any questions or wants to get involved,
IndieChamber.com.
Yeah.
I'm M Huber, MHUBER at IndieChamber.com. But contact our organization. I mean, business is really the sweet spot of what we do, but we try to get our members connected to what's happening in the community. I've been talking to Oreo today about WQRT and a lot of possibilities there to really. It's like more. A lot of people know about WQRT, but I'm committed to making sure that people in the business community know it's independent radio. There's nothing like it in Indianapolis. So I don't know. Maybe some things will be happening, and we'll be working on some things together in 22.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Yeah.